Do you hear me now? Yes, so thank you again, Kevin, for your kind introduction, and thanks for the Hope Hackathon as well for this great initiative where really hope is needed. I have two great esteemed guests with me today. Mr. Dennis Du is the Vice President for Government and Public Relations at Jolichek, and Jolichek is one of the largest e-commerce players in the world, and we would love to hear more about it later on. And we have as well Mr. Maradol Kandwal. And again, his short name is MK. As I know him, I think it will make it easier. And MK is the Vice President for Strategy and Business Development at Loginex, which is one of the pioneering SaaS solution companies in the area of last mile delivery. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Rayan. Thank you for having me here. It's good to be part of the panel and looking forward for an interesting conversation.
So I would firstly like to ask you, gentlemen, to explain a little bit about your businesses, just to give context for the discussion, a bit of background about what you do and what your business does, and as well explaining how COVID-19 changed the logistics of your business in a way. So whoever is ready to start.
Okay.
Who will?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Sorry, you go first. MK, you go first.
Okay, sounds good. Absolutely, no problem. So, to quickly introduce myself as well as the organization, and Rayan, thank you for the kind introduction. So, as Rayan mentioned, I lead the strategy and business for a company called Loginex. Now, who we are, what we do. We, as an organization, are primarily focused on enterprise. We are an enterprise SaaS platform focused on end-to-end logistics optimization. What I mean by end-to-end logistics optimization is we help companies optimize their first mile, middle mile, and last mile. So through our transport automation platform, and that's where we are a US headquartered company. We have got offices started in Bay Area, and then set up our offices in New York and Chicago in US. We have got 10 other offices across Southeast Asia, Middle East, and we have got a development center in India. We are backed by companies like Alibaba, Microsoft Ventures. At the same time, recently we've onboarded new investment partners as one of the largest VC like Tiger Global and Steelview Capital as well. So these are the investment partners we have. We have got customer base in around 65 countries, and primarily working with enterprise across industries such as CPG, CEP, 3PL, transportation, and e-commerce, where we help them optimize their logistics operation. And when I say logistics operations, it could be, and I'll give you an example, and then I'll go to actually how the business got impacted and how the COVID-19 actually helped us, or what impact COVID-19 had on our business. So
basically, MK, you offer a SaaS product for companies who want to do last mile delivery. Is that correct?
That's correct. Last mile is one of the module of the product platform, but it's end to end. So it could be first mile, it could be middle mile, or the last mile. So it's a transport automation platform focusing on visibility, optimization, and analytics as the three key layers of the product.
Okay.
Right. And as I mentioned, so in different these industries, we work with companies, and to name a few, we work with companies like Syncpost, UPS, USPS, help optimize around 10 million shipments per day on our platform. So we've scaled to a sizable value and a volume as an organization. And while this whole COVID-19 thing happened, right, and that's something. So I'll just go back how all this started and how we realized as an organization what changes we made, uh, what changes we made in our product offering, how we supported our customers in this journey. When this COVID-19 started early in China, Wuhan region, we started hearing about it, and because I was in Singapore, I could there was some impact we started seeing in the movement as well. In people movement, we started reduction in the people. There was some restriction which has been levied in Singapore, Thailand, and in Southeast Asia region. And that was the time we realized that, hey, obviously WTO was also giving their warnings around this. We realized this may not stop here. This may probably go prolong for a longer period, and we maybe looking at a pandemic which can be as long as 6 months or 8 months kind of duration. Right? And the idea was that how our customers will start impacting. And that was, I think it was mid of Jan or end of Jan, when we got into action and see, hey, how our customers going to impact. And we categorize our customers, as I said, based on industries, and saw that these are the customers who have what are the products which still be circulated, what would have movement. We had reference of China, how China is allowing, what China is allowing, and what we have seen previously during 2003, so the SARC days, how Singapore has and the SCA region had dealt with it. And we decided that if this wave hit the companies, the first thing they would want to see is that how can they still move the goods, or how can they actually continue to deliver it. And at the same time, while we work with large retail companies, we realized if those retail stores are shut, how would they be doing their logistics? So we enable a lot of companies on the omni-channel model, home deliveries. We saw home delivery becoming a prominent thing. We realized that a behavioral change which is happening in people, where you and I as a customer does not want the delivery person to actually deliver in our hands. They want that to be dropped it outside our houses, right? Or probably in a security cabin, or to our or at the doorstep for that matter. And that's where we realize that there is a need. Yes, yeah.
So have you witnessed new companies or sectors that are interested to do last mile delivery that you were not serving in the past, or they were small, and you've witnessed a big change in their behavior after COVID-19 based on your global experience?
So COVID-19 actually resulted in a huge inbound inquiries for us as an organization, right? Because
in terms of sectors, what sectors did you see, surprisingly some growth versus pre-COVID-19?
So for that matter, we saw us surprisingly for retail. So quite a few large retail organizations which we work with in Thailand, Singapore, and US, all of a sudden their home delivery volume. So though they were seeing a decline in their in-store volume, in-store sales, they started seeing an increase in their home delivery volume. When I say increase, it was as high as 2x volume as they were doing. Somebody is doing 10,000, they were doing 20,000 shipments, and that's where the challenge comes in, because they were not ready for that kind of growth, J growth. So there was a demand and supply mismatch which started impacting them, right? So we saw retail organization having a major impact, which were in grocery, your supermarkets. They're all of a sudden their delivery volumes have increased. These are food delivery customers, or rather QSR customers like McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, KFC, all these brands we work with. Their volume shot up by 40-50%. Right?
What about pharma?
Yes, that's the third sector which I was coming to. So pharma, initially in Jan we didn't see, but by end of Feb or in March, and now we are seeing an increase in pharma deliveries as well. At the same time, there are new innovative models which we are seeing in pharma, which is coming in. So one of the customers, I would say, a lot of logistics companies we were working with, and we are working with 3PLs. They got a lot of pharma customers on board, which was not the case. So we saw logistic company 3PL also changing their strategy and moving towards more essential goods delivery versus the non-essentials, wherein they saw a decline in an automotive. So we Siva as a customer saw a decline in their automotive movements, right? So they had a huge dependence in automotive. But at the same time, we were able to help them pivot to essential pharma customers and onboard some fast pharma customers quickly so they can manage the demand and supply. So we saw pharma, retail, and at the same time, we saw CPG companies also directly actually going direct to customer movement. So I don't know uh, if the panel aware of it, but all these CPG companies from Nestle to Unilever has a direct to consumer model also, which they had been uh, promoting since last couple of years, the whole e-commerce piece of it, right? But that never that never reached to the numbers which they were expecting. There is a huge increase in volume they also saw in last
So,
couple of years.
as a technological enabler for logistics, you have witnessed serious growth after COVID-19. Is that correct?
Yes, in some sectors, absolutely. And for our customers, we saw that they were able to pivot well. And that's where I think all the digital transformation piece comes in. So wherever we were there, we could actually help our customer pivot to a model which can sustain the challenges which are presented by COVID-19 versus the model which the companies were working on.
And you're saying that the sectors that have witnessed big growth is grocery, pharma, food delivery, and FMCGs as well, correct?
Yes, from the demand side.
Excellent. So I think we will have more questions to you, MK, as we progress. And please, for the respected audience, if you have any questions, there is a Q&A box that you could post your questions, and we would be happy to pick them. And my friend Kevin here will be helping me as well in capturing these questions. So to you, Dennis, again, Jolly Chick was one of the movers and shakers in the market globally and locally in Saudi Arabia. We've seen a lot of activity recently in the last one and a half year from Jolly Chick. Could you just explain a bit again about Jolly Chick as an organization? How is your footprint? My understanding is that you're more focused on the Middle East, but I could be wrong. And how did, again, COVID-19 impact your logistics, I think, in the beginning and later on? Because I think in the beginning, when China was the first to catch the cold, I think it impacted the supply chain somehow. So, and then it eased later on. So if you could just tell us about your logistics journey and more about Jolly Chick as a platform.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. I'm Dennis from Jolly Chick. As you mentioned, Jolly Chick is the leading e-commerce company. You're right. We're basically more focused on the Middle East, Gulf.
Can you come closer? Your voice is not very clear.
How about now? Is that okay now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your introduction. This is Dennis Du from Jolly Chic. As you mentioned, Jolly Chic is indeed a leading e-commerce platform with more focus on the Middle East market and MENA region, with a core market in Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries. And we're proud that Jolly Chic is a household name in the Gulf markets and beyond as one of the leading e-commerce platforms. And then we are proud of being a member of the first tier e-commerce club across the region. That means we are among the top 3 in the region in terms of the number of our app users, customers, the vast variety of the consumer products and categories on our platform. And our market influence of our platform is in both self-operated and open marketplace models. I'm glad you mentioned that you noticed a lot of the footprints we made just over the past year, and recently with the outbreak of COVID and impacts on the market. So the outbreak of the pandemic caused the difficulties affecting our supply chain at home and the local suppliers as well because of the containment measures taken by both Chinese government and the governments of the regional countries. And international logistic routes are being squeezed and significantly shrinking, with the international passenger flights reduced significantly, followed by being cut off altogether. Now, I'm supposed to be Riyadh now since February, but even
And you are in Beijing now, huh?
yeah, a lot of our colleagues supposed to return back to the office in Riyadh, in Dubai, because of this international traffic block. So we have to, we do have a lot of impacts, real impacts on the logistic chain. So the containment measures, the suppliers at home in China or in the region, the up to now they started to resume the capacity, workforce, etc. But you can see the encouraging momentum is taking shape, but it still takes time for everything come back to the right track for the moment. It will still take a period.
So, Dennis, are you more dependent on air shipment or are you more focused on sea shipments? I mean, do you avail stock in the market as FB, I would call J, fulfilled by Jolly Chick, or would you order back to back and thus you will be relying more on air shipment versus sea?
Yeah, right. Good question. So, with this pandemic situation, Sorry, I have. 大海，我在一个国际会议上，我正在会议上发言，我先挂了。
好。
So the internet, the international logistic routes are being squeezed and affected. When it comes to B2C model, we relies on the passenger flights, and that has been reduced significantly at the beginning. And now we can see the overall the passenger flights across from between China and the region and across many countries have been cut off altogether. So that is the significant impact or the shock towards our business or logistic chain. As for the marine cargo, which is the major channel for our B2B model, you said the fulfilled by Jolly Chic locally, but the transportation costs are soaring and the vessels are being reduced significantly as well. So because of the convergence of all demands towards the only cross-border logistic artery, that means the marine cargo by sea. So we are facing soaring costs and shrinking capacity. So, and we are doing the cross-border business, and our supply chain, the backbone of our supply chain, still at least more than half in China. So we tackle this situation by two approach in parallel. We mobilize our efforts to create more partnership with the local suppliers in the region.
So local
of this international logistic disturbance, and at the same time at home we still maintain or try to build a more resilient partnership with our suppliers to obtain their understandings, and that we can we can make some joint efforts to face this soaring cost. But thanks to the joint efforts by the most resilient partnership between our platform and our sellers and the suppliers, and with the equal importance that we put our existing local logistic infrastructure to the maximum usage. we have our spacious warehouses in Riyadh. There are some rumors that we are shutting down the warehouse, and it's totally not the case. The opposite is the reality. We have these pre-storage facilities, and that allow us to stockpile items and products beforehand. Then we can fulfill the orders locally. That allow us to maintain our services.
So as a reflection of this crisis, your business model is shifting a bit, correct? You're having more local, I would say, stock in your warehouses procured ahead of time, and you are relying more on local sellers versus international sellers. Is that correct?
I would not take this perspective. This is a temporary. I don't see. Maybe the new strategy is, indeed, is taking shape for every company, for every businesses. From smallest to biggest. But before the outbreak, we have these dual engines. One is the local sellers, suppliers. Another one is the suppliers chain back home in China. Now, the proportion or the percentage of each category, we may adjust accordingly to accommodate ourselves to the current situation. Jolly Chic in general, we position ourselves as a local company. In terms of management, in terms of resources, even in terms of the business model. So, maybe just like the epidemic or the pandemic situation play the role as a catalyst to push the accelerate the digitalization process for all sectors, and we do have maybe for this temporary technical adjustment will be some parts of it will maybe remain as a part of the new strategy. This is still in the transitional process. I don't see this is a fundamental or the ultimate change of the business model, or even the allocation of or the makeup of the formation of our resources as logistics resources and the sellers and suppliers.
Excellent. I think, Dennis, I'm myself very active in the logistics space. We're seeing more and more trends related to localized supply chains to mitigate the international risk, either more products beforehand in the local marketplace, again on FBJ, I would call basis, or FBA or FBN, fulfilled by Noon or fulfilled by Jolly Chic or others. And we're seeing as well more emphasis on local stocks with sellers, local sellers, etc., which will mitigate, any sudden crisis. And I think one of the things that people are saying is that this is potentially not the last crisis, health crisis that could happen. So there could be more. And now there are rumors about mosquitoes and other things coming as well. So I think we always have to be ready in a very agile world. Thank you, Dennis, for your great comments. Back to you, MK. So how did the COVID-19 again impact technology? Did you do any adjustments in your technology SaaS solution to respond to COVID-19? Let's say business requirements, safety requirements, and we would like to understand this from a short-term perspective, and how do you see it in the long-term perspective? Now, talking to many last-mile delivery companies, the disturbance is unheard of. Some of their shops are closing down. lockdown in some areas, no full lockdown, partial lockdown. So there are new configurations, I would say, within the systems, new variables. So how did you accommodate for that in the short term, and how, as a SaaS solution, would you make yourself ready, crisis ready, I would say, in the future, God forbids, and as we're passing through this situation now in terms of evolution of your technology?
Okay, great question, Rayan. So I'll break it down into two things. First, let's just talk about more from the last mile impact and what changes we have done, which we believe are done from the short term perspective, but would remain prevalent for long term. Also, some of these changes, right? Reason is there is a behavioral aspect, behavioral change also, which we are noticing. Some of the changes which we did, and I'll further break it down into two things: how we help businesses pivot, which is one of the things which you're asking, like in long term, what changes we are seeing in their businesses, like store being closed, partial lockdown, how they are moving towards more omni-channel model. And then I talk about, first, let me start on the short term, on the last mile piece and the home delivery piece, which is keeping us probably ensuring that we all have foods on our table, right? Getting the foods on the home deliveries, which is in partial or the full lockdown, is one of the key way to get it. So one of the things which we've realized is that the challenges which customers are having, and our customers, which are last mile companies, 3PL or CP companies, and at the same their consumers are having is, you want home deliveries, but they want a contactless experience. They want that which I was talking about before. It has to be a door delivery and all. So what we did immediately, there were a lot of features which were there in the system, which customers were not using, and there were a lot of companies who did not have it. So we launched a product called Loginex Now, right? Loginex Now was specifically launched to onboard any company who want to digitalize their businesses, right? Or maybe a mid-sized company, if not an enterprise, a mid-sized company who is struggling right now because of this pandemic situation and want to digitalize their operations quickly and to be able to deliver to your customer and to be able to provide the experience which the customer is experiencing or expecting. At the same time, let's say if I'm a last mile delivery company, but I deliver furniture and there is no demand for furniture, but there is a demand for essentials. I've got 100 trucks. Can I use that for 100 trucks for delivering grocery, right? Or for pharma?
So this is more of an SME. This is more of an SME solution, correct?
I would call it Loginex Now for SME or mid-sized companies, because the focus on this was more for community for us, right? While we wanted to do our bit for the community and the companies struggling, because we all know that yes, there are some businesses which are being benefited, but majority of the businesses being hit by this pandemic. Majority of businesses are feeling the heat, and every day we see some needs. So we wanted to make sure that whatever support we as a technology provider can enable, and whatever support we can provide, we provide that support. And that's where a launch of Loginex Now comes in, where we focused on how quickly. So the Loginex Now platform, we quickly trimmed and created a lean version of our enterprise platform, which allows any customer, when I say 200, 300 truck owner, 100 truck owner, to onboard come on our platforms and start within 48 hours, right? And then they can enable contactless delivery for their customers. Like they can do door deliveries. So they can enable ETA for their customers, which can be dynamically. So they can inform the customer that, hey, the delivery will come between 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And if there is any change, you can inform. So they don't come out of their houses unnecessarily or wait or call the driver unnecessarily. Sharing the driver information so they know who is coming and delivering it. Avoiding digital signatures. So a lot of these proof of delivery, right? So we keep on hearing, and I know you have been in logistic industry for that matter, Danish. Proof of delivery is something which is always there, right? Can I get a signature on paper or on a PDA device or a phone handheld device, right? We just removed that piece. He said, hey, that's obviously as a feature it's there, but he said, let's move our customer and all these guys on an OTP based delivery. where a customer doesn't need to actually touch the devices which a driver or a courier is carrying or a delivery person is carrying, right? And bringing there is a lot of news which we were hearing, and then there was news data around cash, reducing the cash transactions because cash may carry, that could be one of the carrier as well, right? So we took them on board or onboarded most of our customers on a digital platform, so the payment piece. So we enabled the whole digital payment for the drivers and from the customers end to end. So that was already there, but we also integrated a lot of new tech solutions which are available in the market, and we quickly integrated with them as well. So there is a large bouquet of payment gateways available for our customers, which they can start with immediately. So the idea was to reduce the time to onboard for any new customer, right? We work with at least 10 to 15 NGOs right now across different countries, who are using our platform to deliver to homeless and the needy. And for that matter, we work with NGOs who are delivering food to the drivers of Uber, Grab in Southeast Asia, that matter, Uber in Dubai and all, where their businesses has gone down because people are not moving. So they drive.
I think that is a very interesting point because now to date, based on some of the researches, 3 to 5% of brick and mortar in the region, at least, are online. So a lot of them are offline. They don't have presence. So I think again, this quick SME solutions will give them quick access to set up a delivery, direct delivery fleet, correct? And you're saying it's going to be safer because there are less touch points, I would say, physical touch points, and a bit of distancing enabled by technology, correct? Either as OTPs or other solutions, correct?
That's absolutely correct. So at the same time, for these brick and mortar companies, so there are a lot of restaurants which got shut. So there are two kinds of chains which you have, right? One is the QSR players, large QSR players, McDonald's and all, where in-store delivery, in-dine experience is almost at zero or very minimal for good last 3 months because there are nobody coming to the store. But home deliveries are increasing. So to manage the demand and supply, we actually enabled through our platform to be able to onboard in the team which works within the restaurant to be able to do delivery as well. Right. So we created our platform to onboard a freelance driver, onboard any new person as a driver. Was we provided to these customers or to small restaurants who went on a platform on delivery platform but didn't have a fleet to deliver. So they could actually turn their catering staff, waiters, into a delivery person by bringing them on board on our simplistic and the user experience.
And how are you going to make your technology resilient for the future? I mean, and the future crisis could be anywhere related to power supplies or network supplies or health pandemics. So how are you prepping your technologies to be future-proof somehow?
See, we are always working towards obviously new and new feature technology, including new technology, new initiatives towards it, from being it a blockchain or you talk about voice controlled logistics, right? Where you do not you require less number of people. You're able to control the work by voice or the drone for that matter. So we are doing drone deliveries experiments with some of our customers in US in R&Ds. We are to be more future ready if the drone deliveries becomes. We are also working with some of the companies which is more which are more parcel locker models, right? At the same time, when it comes to becoming more future ready about this power shortage and any other pandemic, see, I cannot say and say, hey, we would always be 100% ready, and because that's a lot of these things are not known. But then what we can do is that we make sure that we always have a cutting edge technology, and we are able to provide the same to our customer. From logistics space to that matter, when we talk about of being able to operate the applications in an offline mode without an internet. If you do not have riders, do not have networks, they can actually still use the mobile application and then execute the operation, then execute the plays to enable the build platforms which has less and less dependency on network, can work on our low network areas as well. So there are a lot of things which we do around these things to be more future ready. If that helps, does that answer your question? Is there any specific you have?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Dennis, did the technology change in your case? Did you apply any technological changes for now and for later when it comes to your platform and the user experience?
Yes, I think technology is an important key.
Can you get closer, Mr. Dennis, to the mic?
Okay. Yeah. So I think technology is a vital factor in play. And in the logistics sector, in particular, from the perspective of Jolly, we see data plays a significant role in our logistic chain management. So Jolly always attaches a high importance to big data. For logistic management in particular, data helps us a lot for inventory prediction and management. In addition, as I mentioned, we utilize our local logistic facilities to the best use. So against the backdrop of this pandemic situation, we now roll out the SAFE code, SAFE, as our operation standards during the period. Well, maybe I think technology as a factor is involved in this whole set of the operation standards. So SAFE is something we rolled out, especially for the new growth momentum of e-commerce in the region. The specific standards are as follows. S is for safety. We take strict sterilization measures for our logistics staff, facilities, and the whole logistic process to ensure safety of our people and our customers. So in the short run, we can utilize or apply the experience and some efforts we made in other places, hot hit regions like in China. We just copy those best practice sterilization measures to the region. But in the long run, I see the technology has to play a bigger role in ensuring safety standards are safeguarded all across the logistic process. For the individual staff, for the whole process, even we look forward to in the future, in the foreseeable future, we can see some, traceable or some tracking process can be utilized. So we already started to think about this in the long run view. And for SAFE, we also emphasize A. A is for availability, which means one of the major competitive advantages of Jolly Chic, the vast variety of the available categories with sufficient quantity and quality. And at the same time, we have to guarantee our delivery and customer services are also available around the clock. And our delivery services are covering, now at the moment, are covering more than 100 cities in KSA, which is a significant expansion based on the previous foundation. Last year, we talk about this national delivery network in Saudi market. We cover around 60 cities. So based on our existing facilities, infrastructures, self-operated stations, and our delivery staff, fleet of delivery trucks, the vans, we now cover more than 100 cities. According to our.
Do you think again the question is to both MK and Mr. Dennis? I mean, do you think the logistics ecosystem and infrastructure for last mile delivery today will meet the new expectations of the customers for the new normal? Now, I think if you look at the market historically, brick and mortar was the kings. E-commerce was the challenger for this sector. Now, I think as e-commerce is growing, I think there is a big disappointment, I would say, across the world in terms of the speed of delivery. I mean, the customer wants it and they want it now. They want to have same-day delivery. They want to have 1 hour delivery. They want to have 2 hours delivery. And I think if the current systems does not solve this, it will be disrupted somehow again. This whole platforms of last mile delivery will be disrupted again, either the current e-commerce platforms, etc., because I think everyone wants the delivery of e-commerce goods beyond food to be like ordering from a KFC or, within 30 minutes, you want it to be delivered to your house. Now, sometimes it's taking days and weeks with the current increase in demand and from 150% to 2,000% in some cases we've seen, like Pharma, for example. So how do you think we can meet the customer expectation in the new normal of super fast logistics? And again, the customer is saying, I want it and I want it now, but I don't think the business is responding to them.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. That given the ever-changing and ever-increasing demand across the region for the e-commerce, for delivery services, not only just for consumer goods, you can see on the horizon, the needs are quite the various demands are emerging. Something like in other markets already, the model already become very mature. For example, you can get your any kind of item delivered in the same city on same day, some tailor-made order. You can see that. So that means I agree with you. The current facilities and the capacities and efficiency is far below the expectation or the demand. So there's a huge space to make significant or make unprecedented.
Is this the same case in China? You are in Beijing now. Is it the same case if you want to have same day delivery from Alibaba or others?
Same day, people get your birthday cake, or the food, or some cinema tickets delivered from one location to another across city, just within several hours. It is reality. It is already get very mature. It's part of a daily life of average customers, and we can see in Saudi, in the Gulf, it is in the foreseeable future, it will become reality as well. You can see, as I mentioned, online payment now is getting more popular, not only by the push from the government. You can see from the end of the customers, there are more, people are getting more used to this new idea and concept. So ironically, the pandemic is disaster and tragedy, but at the same time, it plays a role as a catalyst to push people, common people, educated, non-educated, towards the cashless society. So we as a platform and e-commerce or the ecosystem builder, we see prospects very encouraging. So let me finish my F and E, safe standards. F is also related to the point that you mentioned, flexibility. People are talking about personalized services, daily, tailor-made. some people in the country they want the same day delivery or next day delivery. This is a huge challenge, not only for Jolly but for the whole sector. The efficiency, to be fair enough, we can see compared with what happened, say 2 years ago or even 1 year ago, you can see the efficiency is getting improved with the
but now with COVID-19, it went the other way around. The efficiency is dropping significantly because of the over demand.
Yes. I think this is for the moment, for this pandemic background, you can see as I mentioned, not only international logistic channel got affected significantly, but also the domestic logistic curfew. We are lucky enough to get the very good and strong support from the local government. So Jolly as a logistic company, we acquired on-road permit for the curfew, and because we launched some new categories related to daily life necessities, food, and some materials related to the healthcare, to the wellness. So that we are lucky enough to have to maintain our services.
So back to the original question, Dennis. Now you are in Beijing, in China. If you want to order a table or a clock or something, same day delivery, within 1 hour delivery, and I'm using China as an example because China today probably is the most advanced when it comes to e-commerce in terms of percentage. I think you crossed 26% of retail from e-commerce. So how flexible is the delivery system in China? Do you get same day delivery, 1 hour delivery, 2 hour delivery today? I know in the US they were trying in Seattle to try to go for 1 hour delivery, 2 hour delivery for e-commerce, where it's the hometown of Amazon, but I'm not sure about China. What's the current situation there?
At the peak time of the pandemic, so the lockdown and the curfew measures, containment measures are very strict. Only a few logistic providers, they can be allowed by the government to have exceptional arrangement because they have to guarantee the daily life running. Now at the moment, I mean at the peak weeks and months, the scenario was the situation was really bad. Even for the giant logistic companies, they cannot handle the situation. The overwhelming demands. People normally they go to the shopping mall, to the groceries. They are forced to be pushed towards online. So the orders just got overwhelming. The same thing happened to Jolly Ship, so in the region. But with the time, when the pandemic situation is getting loose and getting better, then you have the capacity to deal with the orders. So you can see clearly the momentum is here. You can see the things are getting back to the right track, to the normal track, and even some efficiency is getting better compared with several months ago. This is a side effect of this pandemic. It pushes the industry, even pushes market.
I think yes.
Yeah, and
I think I can tell you as a customer
is that infrastructure.
I can tell you as a customer, there is a big mismatch today between the customer expectation and what is being offered in terms of speed. Back to you, MK.
If I take a step of your
MK, two questions again related to the same question. Are you seeing this backlog issues globally in in the system? So is it a global issue? Is it a regional issue? And how is technology going to solve this? Again, customers are expecting much faster delivery.
Yeah. So, Ryan, so yes, the issue is global. Firstly, it's not a regional issue; it's a global issue. Everywhere there is a demand-supply gap, which is companies are facing. and the customer is being impacted. As a consumer, as a customer, you mentioned that the experience which you're expecting versus the experience you're getting is not matching, and that's a fact. The reason for that is not just because the demand has increased significantly, but the company is not being ready technologically. They're not adopting technology as soon as they should. The good part of this pandemic is that in last 2 months, we have seen 2 years worth of digital transformation happening in companies, or decision happening or movement happening in companies, where they realize the things, and we have been being in the industry, we have seen customers, enterprises taking decisions, how the whole process goes for digital transformation. And this is a buzzword everybody is being using, been there since last, I think everybody's talking about digital transformation for good last 3-4 years or more. But now people are realizing why, and the companies are realizing why it was required, when they are not able to cater to customer demand, and either they are losing the customers or they have uncertainty customers. So at the same time, yes. So on the
so MK now, because one person in the chat was asking, what's the company name? It's called Loginext, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So for example, now today, is there any AI? Is there any machine learning, given that this is a technology discussion, that allows companies to better manage backlogs? Because backlogs and analysis of backlogs and doing better in management of backlogs and BI related to backlogs is becoming a big challenge. So does your platform offer solutions for backlogs management? And if not, if it is not up to the expected level, how do you see it different in the future? Again, we are going to see an increasing demand for sure. How much increase, that is, God only knows. But again, there will always be that gap, and we're going to come back to the cost, because cost is another aspect that one of the audience is asking about as well. But again, how from a technology perspective, you could help businesses to make better decisions in managing this gap?
And that's primarily what Loginext platform help companies. The reason for backlog obviously is not just always the demand supply gap, but inefficiencies in processes in businesses, right? Because the businesses which are being running, there are a lot of inefficiencies which are being in different portions, the different processes. And the whole idea of Loginext platform actually to remove those inefficiencies by digitalizing and automating those processes, at the same time bringing optimization. To give you an example for AI and ML, and we do actually pretty extensively use AI and ML. One of the things which we talk about, let's start with the last part, which is you and I as a consumer get impacted with, right? That when will I get my order? And will I get it on time? Will I get it in 2 hours? If I'm ordering, will I get it the same day? The key factor to it, obviously, is if the product has reached to the regional warehouse or the local warehouse as well, would the person who is left with that can he actually tell you that what time he would be coming? So we use actually we use multiple different map sources as a map agnostic platform, and a lot of historical data, and do a lot of machine learning on the routes, machine learning on the traffic information, traffic data, machine learning on the movement of vehicles, and based on that suggests that what is the right way to move these goods, what route a driver should be taking to deliver, and what should be the appropriate time to deliver it to this customer. At the same time, if there's a preference from the customer, we try to say that which driver and how you can meet this preference. One of the key things which bring inefficiency, and I'm probably sorry if I'm going into too much detail into and in technicalities, but for everybody in logistics will understand service time, a time to deliver at the location, customer location. And if you have 10 orders to deliver and every order has 30 minutes of service time, you are talking about 300 minutes spent as service time, right? Now, Loginext platform.
Can your software help me to do root causing, for example, understand what went wrong? Why do I have 3,000 orders. If I'm in Dennis' shoes, probably he wakes up in the morning, he's the manager. They complain that there are 5,000 orders delays, for example. Can your system give me a report, BI, dashboard, help me to say, this is the problem, this is the solution, and this is how long it's going to take you to clear the backlog?
So if you have, let's say, 5,000 orders, Logistics system will tell you that, hey, why these orders got delayed. If there were some cancellations and there was reattempts, why those reattempts were there, which has created that backlog. And at the same time tell you that, hey, these are with your current fleet, these are the resources you have. Loginex also allows you to bring on board freelance fleet and tell that, hey, you need additional 20 riders, and these are the 5 partners you have which are serving in this region. You may have a contract, you may not have a contract, which has capacity and can help you deliver, and allow you to place an order with them so they can also come, and you can outsource some of the deliveries to be able to deliver to your customer in time. So it allows you to manage not only on an asset heavy model where you have your own resources, but allow you to bring on board third-party vendors, third-party delivery companies, 3PLs, as well as the freelance riders to be able to execute your deliveries in time and clear your backlog faster. And also tells when, by how much time would you require, so you can actually tell your customer exact estimation. You and I, as a customer, most of the time is not unhappy because an Amazon parcel has come 5 minutes late. That's mostly not a concern, but the problem is I don't know when it is coming. So I probably end up waiting for the whole day sometimes, and it's still not appearing. It's the message came was that it is coming today, but no timing when it is coming today. And I have other things to do, and I'm still waiting for the parcel. So the Loginex system actually allows you to go to the micro level and say, hey, the parcel will come between 4 to 5, and ensure that you deliver it to 4 to 5, bringing the better experience, bringing that visibility to the customer, which create a dissatisfaction in the customer. It's the getting that visibility in time is what enable a good customer experience, which we do. And obviously using machine learning, we also predict that during which season, like if currently in Ramadan, during this time, these are the order of volume which you receive as a retailer or as a CEP company. This is how your order volume changes. And these are the number of resources you require to prepare. So we allow them to be prepared for this. Yes, we can't predict COVID, but yes, we can predict other seasonal hikes which happen and changes which happens much more in advance for the customers to be ready for that.
Hopefully with AI in the future and machine learning, you can predict COVID as well.
Yes, you can predict, we can still predict, still predict the delivery time required, because we have created a whole red zones and the orange zones on our map. So when our driver routes now come, they actually ensures that the driver doesn't take a red zone route or a containment area route. So they are always moving from the safe route. Delivery to the customer is safer, from the rider is safe, a driver is safe, and the customer, what they receive the parcel is safe.
Excellent. Thank you, MK. Dennis, back to you. How do you see this pandemic triggering new technologies in logistics? And again, you are in China, and China again had some great, I would say, innovations, commercialization and implementation during COVID. So, for example, drones or again, more accurate mapping. I think mapping is an issue in the region, and the accuracy of the mapping. So how do you think COVID-19 now will trigger new technologies like drones, etc., and other technologies that you may have in mind from your experience?
Yeah, I think the pandemic is a catalyst for booming the content sector, and a reminder for the regulator and the market players as well to notice the huge growth phase for digital economy in general. You mentioned drone. Well, that is cool. That is the very innovative gadget and maybe leading the trend. But whether it is applicable in the region or on the big scope it can be used. Another question, but in general, I think the trend is over here. We can see going digital is definitely the trend for the foreseeable future. Of course, the pandemic is a tragedy and disaster, but objectively, we can see we are being pushed by this increasing demand and the changing mindset, the and landscape of the market. So we have to take a new perspective to the whole thing, especially the infrastructure. For example, you mentioned in some other places of the world, the logistics really take a very aggressive shape or forms, like drone delivery and some bio ID technology, IoT, all the concepts and the practices are emerging, and some already being put in some very useful and practical scenarios as one part as possible.
Any examples, Dennis, from China? Because China has implemented a lot with COVID-19. It's not only about Saudi Arabia and the region. We're talking about logistics as a global opportunity and challenge in e-commerce and others. So any interesting experiments with China that you think could be scaled in the future?
Yes, I think through this pandemic, the the general public awareness from the customers, from normal average citizens to the regulators, there is a dramatic change. People getting more awareness towards the digital economy. Even in China, we can now look forward to the next stage of these the new applications, new models, new scenarios, and especially for the new investment or the input for the upgrading the infrastructure. For example, I think the implication for the region is apparent. You can see in Saudi, it is a very good example that the country is taking the leading position in terms of the infrastructure, telecommunication. We're supposed to host a deputy minister of the MCIT. The infrastructure and the vision towards the future for building this or upgrading this kind of infrastructure is very sharp and clear, and already put into the framework of the 2030 vision, which is good and necessary for the next step. I mean, not only technology, I mean the whole environment. To build the ecosystem, you need the soil and the seed. The seed may be the company, the platforms like Jolly Shake, like some well-established companies with the new technology, with some localization of operation, and the technology also plays the role as a seed. But at the same time, you need soil. Okay, soil. That means the overall environment, including the infrastructure. We're talking about the last mile delivery. We see our national delivery network even cover Jizan, even some remote western and southern parts of the country. So you can see the foundation is quite solid, and we still need some homework to be done, not only by the companies but also by the whole country, and the regulators and the government will need to create more flexibility and more inputs to the infrastructure, and maybe more market access for the seed, like to create more fertile soil for the seed to grow, to break the earth. That is something we can look forward to.
So again, Dennis, for people who are hungry to hear the latest innovations, any new interesting innovations from China?
Before the pandemic, as far as I know, some innovative concepts like some seafood grocery or the supermarket without staff. You know that unmanned, it's not called unmanned, no staff grocery or no staff supermarket or mini supermarket. It was not operated in to the satisfactory level, but with this pandemic, people are being pushed towards the to buy stuff in online. So it's O2O. It's a new big opportunity for the O2O. Offline goes to online. This combination, and this is, you can see this combination is not just a scenario. It's a integration. It's a process of integration of all kind of elements, including technology, including the mindset of the customers, because only if you have the exception or the awareness from the customers, they like to buy stuff from those scenarios, then you can make this success. Otherwise, it's just a beautiful picture or the PPT or the video show, whatever. So that gives the pandemic keeps recalibrate a lot of things. We can see major change are afoot. So with this integration or the solution or the holistic solution, like no staff grocery, even some Jolly Chic previously launched a new it's a moving or traveling grocery converted by a conventional container. It has the solar panel as power, and you can scan in by scan the code using your mobile. Then you can pick items from the fridge inside, and you can just walk out and by scan your face. Something like that. It was phenomenal when we launched that as a test, as a trial. But with this pandemic situation, and afterwards, you can see more reality has been put into this scenario. That is something interesting and very exciting is being brewed.
Excellent. Thank you, Dennis. Very informative. MK, you had something to say on this?
No, I think when it comes to changes in infrastructure and to help companies be able to scale, I think I agree with Dennis, and one of the key changes which we are seeing on the brick and mortar to online to offline is, I think, would be, again, it's been there, right? So whatever we are talking is something, there's no magic here. And a lot of time when we talk about our technology, we talk about innovation, we expect that there'll be some magic which will happen right now, and these things which have been there, I firmly believe it's about implementation of the technology which is already available, which is cutting edge in businesses, is what will make businesses ready for these kind of situations. And that's what is happening right now. We are seeing businesses adopting these technologies much faster, and that will make them more future ready. Then, because you see, when we talk about, as we talk about drone, or we talk about no-man stores, or humanless, touchless deliveries, and so on and so forth, or for that matter, deliveries done through an autonomous vehicle, all these things are, we are talking about step D, but there are companies who are still not taken step A, B, or C, right? And that's where I feel a huge gap when we talk, and I'm just trying to bring it to a more reality front, right? That when we talk about D, great, that's there. But the reason why we are struggling, and why the companies are struggling, and why, if as a consumer you're not receiving deliveries in time, is because A, B, and C is not being done. Those steps are still to be done, and that digital transformation itself will change a lot the way a consumer the way customer receives a delivery, customer receives a parcel, or the supply chain is being executed across. At the same time, that's what will change the businesses as well, where brick and mortar has become globally, and as you highlighted, China e-commerce is, let's say, around 25% of penetration. But globally, when it comes to brick and mortar, when you talk about Walmart, when you talk about Target, when you talk about companies which are the giants in retail, right? And when you talk about Tesco's and so on and so forth, these guys also have not been able to have 10, 15 or more than 15, 20% or 15% of their e-commerce deliveries being their of their total volume. In last 2 months, they have seen the growth which they didn't see in last 2 years. And a lot of these growth will stay. And that's the change. And that's where they have started changing the businesses which they did not change, because need is the journey, where need is what will bring these innovations. Now these businesses have adopted technology which can support it. And as a consumer, you will see an impact as well.
So one of the questions that came from the audience is, we've talked about AI, we've talked about machine learning. How do you think blockchain could help the logistics industry in the future post-COVID-19 when it comes to your industries, given that, you know, the organizing the data and access to data will be key to syndicate resources and optimize what you could get. So how do you think blockchain could help in the future?
Yeah. Janice, you want to step? You want to go ahead?
Well, I'm not an expert on blockchain.
Okay. You have any thoughts, MK?
My thoughts on blockchain are usually not agreed by most of the people, because I have seen blockchain and we are doing some work with blockchain. But as we understand, blockchain is community driven, right? It's you alone cannot really create a successful project out of blockchain as an organization, and that's where all the nodes which are there of blockchain needs to be connected to be able to successfully get value of it. We have done R&D, we have done some work, and I have spoken to Fortune 100 companies, 50 of the CIOs of Fortune 100 companies, and all of them has done a pilot on blockchain, but none of them has done a project or a real implementation of blockchain. So I personally do not think that blockchain is something which will really be able to create a lot of value in next couple of years. Maybe after 2021, 2022 is when I think blockchain will happen. Till then, we will not see a real implementation creating value for a customer, for a company. I think we are still at very early stage of blockchain.
I think I agree with you that you know, it's difficult to trigger blockchain because there should be a market leader somehow that triggers this for a market development. I could mention a good example in the shipping industry. There is something called a blockchain called TradeLens, which was triggered by Maersk shipping line, and later on all shipping lines, e-forwarders, ports, etc., chipped into that blockchain. Now, once you have the data available, you could manage supply demand better, because cost effectiveness is an issue, efficiency is an issue, supply demand is an issue. So I think once you have a central blockchain, it could definitely help. But the question is always who's going to trigger that within the industry. I think, again, another example that was a global crisis is the PPE, personal protection equipment. I mean, we've all seen our WhatsApp people asking for PPE material from all over the world, and people sitting. And I mean, if there was a blockchain or a marketplace, sort of a blockchain that connects the whole people related to the industry or for the other equipment needed, I think that could solve a problem. So I think this is definitely the next paradigm, but I'm happy that we see some momentum in the shipping industry. Hopefully it will have a ripple effect on other industries, and it could include more people in the blockchain, and I think Fintech was one of the pioneers. So I think it will definitely integrate in that ecosystem. I think the last question, and again, thank you for the great inputs. A lot of interaction from the audiences as well, and I've addressed many of their questions. How do you see how do you envision the logistics sector in your industries in 5 years' time? Let's say 2025. How do you envision, Dennis, what you are doing? How do you, if you are as a head of your organization, how do you envision the future and the experience when it comes to logistics? And MK, later on, the same question will be to you. So Dennis, if you could, just give us your feeling.
Okay. I will share my humble guess. Okay. As a practitioner in the sector of e-commerce, we can see from now towards 5 years or 3 years, the future, we can see there will be some fundamental change across the sector. From the G end, the government, we can see more actions and strategies and actions will be translated on the ground to the ground in terms of the digital logistic efforts or inputs. And beyond that, I can see there's more reality will be more stuff will come to true for cashless society building. From the B end, business, I can see the whole landscape will be changed. Some mobility across the tiers, multiple tiers of the different level of market players will change, position will shifting. And the technology application scenarios created, more scenarios will be created for the customers. So that means you have to create more options from the supply end. And from the C end, customer, I think the most significant change is the mindset. The stickiness to the new digital logistics and digital economy in general will be overwhelming. The consumption preference will be shifted. So in general, I think the ecosystem, the pillars, I should say, the pillars of the ecosystem, digital ecosystem, will be looming with more reality.
And thank you, great thoughts, Dennis. What about your experience with location accuracy in the region when it comes to deliveries? Do you see any opportunity? So today I order something from X company, and he has to call me saying I'm in the street. Which home is it? And I have to describe to him the green car and the red car and the black door and the white door until he reaches me. Do you see any evolution in the addressing system, and are you facing this challenge today?
I agree with you that definitely this is a trend as well. I think it's part of the infrastructure for ecosystem building. You have to, as for the country, for Saudi and the Gulf countries in general, we see a lot of improvement should be done for like location accuracy and something like maps and even digital maps for that is something should be created by the regulators rather than the companies. We as companies we make our we are doing our homework as well, but the overarching the lead will be left to the government to create the part of the soil to create the environment or the infrastructure pillars of the infrastructure So the location, location is definitely one of the most important elements for logistic or the new logistic.
So hopefully no one will call us again and say, where is your house
Yes,
exactly?
that's right. I'm just stand by this around this mosque. Even the mosque, sometimes I have to think hard how to describe this mosque from others.
Yeah.
Yes,
MK.
yeah. So I'll also I'll take a stab on this, Rayan, and I'll probably start with geocoding. That's very near to my heart. It's a problem which we are trying to solve as an organization, and wherein we actually do smart geocoding for companies. This is a problem which you don't see in US, you don't see in a lot of European countries, but you see across Asia, Pacific, most of the countries except Singapore and some of some more structured countries you live. And what we are doing, we actually use a lot of machine learning in this piece where we collect the information data based on the delivery executed by the drivers, and we integrate with national postal directories as well countries, and then not only consume the data which we are collecting from the ground, we update the national postal directory. So going back to Dennis, as he said, the regulator needs to do it, but regulator also needs data, right? And regulator needs to get this data. Either they need to generate this information data, or they need companies to be able to generate and provide that information, so regulator keep on updating this information and then push it back to the companies while they want to consume it. And that's where we work with in whichever country we're working with postal companies. We actually not only allow them not only collect this information of postal lat long or latitude and longitude based on the delivery location. So once, to give you an example for you, when next time you order, and once the order has been delivered to you, then the call will stop from there if your Loginex has been used, because the customer would know exactly, or your company would know exactly the latitude and longitude where you are, and that would also be updated in the postal directory of the country. So the whole chain would be rectified.
So it's more of an enrichment approach. You enrich the data, basically, correct?
It's enrichment approach at the macro level. So micro as in at the company level, where the company enriches their database to know that where Rayan exactly is and where he lives, and at the macro level where we enrich the whole database and the regular database, so that not only me as an organization or Amazon, if I'm Amazon, but Jolly Jake, Soup, everybody else also, if they're doing home deliveries.
And beyond maps accuracy, again, how do you see? Again, you have been an innovative company for some time. So how do you see the market in the coming 3 to 5 years? How do you see what you are going to offer differently in the coming 3 to 5 years?
See, we are pretty bullish on logistics. You asked that what do we expect and how do we expect logistics to be? So we are pretty bullish on logistics. We expect that, while obviously one of the things which we are doing as an organization, we are creating world's first logistics graph. What I mean by logistics graph or logistics map is that the maps we have, your data which you have right now, all is a private car vehicle. So when Google provides the data, it's more private car data which is provided. So that's where the ETAs may not be accurate when you're trying to put the same ETA for the trucks. So we actually are creating our own maps, which allow you to actually get more commercial data, which we collect based on billions of data points, which we generate through deliveries, which has been done through our platform. At the same time, we are creating a logistics graph, which would be able to tell you the cost of delivery, or the time to deliver, the ETAs to deliver, based on the vehicle to deliver between points. So it's like, think of a scenario, you have a map where you can actually drag and drop between 2 points, and as a logistics planner, and see if I need to move goods from this location to this location, this type of goods, this would be the cost, this would be the time, this would be, so everything provided in a logistics graph. That's one thing which we are building as an organization. These two are key large initiatives which we have taken, which we believe will be transformational for the logistic industry. In general, I think I believe 4 to 5 points, which I believe would be the key changes and technology which will come by 2025. One being, I think, autonomous fleet. that will bring greater efficiency, and that will become a reality by 2025, and we'll see a lot of those movement happening in many of the countries. I am expecting that data will replace fuel as the biggest influencer of logistics industry, because fuel has been for the longest time the biggest influencer how and what the cost of logistics will be. We are expecting new breed of technologies players will be less asset centric, and that's something which you have started seeing a change, that everybody is moving away from asset heavy, and today this whole subscription based economy, shared economy is what everyone is been talking and is being realized by logistics companies as well. And all the new players and the existing players will keep on becoming less asset centric. I believe e-brokerage platform would be another big transformation which will happen, like Uber for trucks. And last but not the least, your favorite, smart commerce with blockchain. I think that's something which should bring an impact by 2025. That's a picture.
Excellent. Great words of wisdom from Dennis and from you, MK. We had a very good 1.5 hours, I think, discussion and a lot of learnings from both of you. Great discussion. I would like to thank again the organizers for Thinktech for this event, and MCIT for this great initiative. I would like to thank all the audiences who attended with us today here, and for their attendance on time, and for all the great questions that they have shared with us. And last but not least, I would like to thank our great guests, Dennis and MK, for your time and for your valuable input. And hopefully this event will be recorded, so many more people will be able to benefit from your words of wisdom. Thank you very much.
Hey, it was great to speak with you, Aryan. Thank you, and thank you very much to the audience as well. And and thanks a lot, Dennis. It was good to hear your thoughts. Quite insightful. If anybody wants to connect, I can share my email ID with the audience, and if they have any questions, they can always get in touch. Happy to help the industry folks and the whole ecosystem always.
Excellent. Dennis, any final word from your side?
Thank you for this event, for the organizers, for the moderator, for the audience. I think it is a good opportunity for us to learn, to share, and at this special period of time, we need to hold on together and make some new endeavor. We look forward to the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and keep safe.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.